Are we okay?
Yes. Okay. Yes, we're good. Ready to go. Okay. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Day 8 of Demystifying African Spirituality Summit. Today we are here with Otsile Molefe. Otsile Molefe, Dumela, welcome.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm doing great. So excited to have you here with us today. We are talking the spiritual powers of traditional medicine today. So if you are here joining us, bring out all those questions that you have about traditional medicine. Just wanted to share for those who are joining us for the first time that we will be using the chat for greetings, for comments, for anything that's coming up. You can just chat with us via that chat option in your phone or in your laptop. And when you have questions, we will use the Q&A for those questions that you have. So you may send those questions there and we will get to them towards the Q&A part of our discussion today. And yes, this will be 40 minutes into the talk. So that's when you may begin sending in your questions, or you may send them throughout and we will come to them later during the discussion. Okay.
Okay.
Great. Okay, so if we are all good, we may begin by setting sacred space, just to calm the spirit and to connect more with our guides, taking a deep breath wherever we are, from our heart, sacred heart. And allowing the sacred heart to open up and to connect with everyone who's here, to connect with the sacred heart that connects every single one of us. And opening up the sacred heart to also connect with our guides and our support team who are here, who we also call in here to guide us. We call in our ancestors of blood and bones. We call in our ancestors of the land. We call in our ancestors of the stars, of the cosmic. We call in our spirit animals and the spirit deities, the elementals that connect us to the earth, fire, and water that walk this journey with us as the human race. We also call in other guides that we connect with, ascended masters, ascended teachers, archangels that we definitely believe in, and any other beings that we resonate with, calling them to be here, to be our guide, our anchor, as we do this transmission coming in from spirit, as we do these teachings, this remembrance about our organic and indigenous ways of our people as African people. And we also activate the law of one, the law of unconditional love, the law of Ubuntu, of oneness that connects every single person who's here. We allow this energy to be the anchor for today as well. And we also call in our higher self, our higher selves to be the anchor, for us to be the vessel for the divine knowledge and divine wisdom coming in also from the spirit realm, from our oversoul. And all higher light beings who are here supporting us are welcome as well. And every single soul that is here, that is watching this, that is learning from this, we ask for blessings, for love, and for light. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is. Amen. Okay, are you able to hear me now? It looked like I might have been lost for a minute there.
No, I hear you loudly.
Okay, great.
Are you able to?
Okay, wonderful. I am feeling much better now, a bit more grounded. And for everyone who's joining us, just wanted to share a bit about our guiding expert for today, Otsile Molefe, who is a traditional healer who has an extensive knowledge of indigenous medicine, and this knowledge that has come forth from his grandfather who taught him this sacred knowledge. And besides teaching us on social media, you're also doing healing with those who are feeling called to work with the traditional medicine and those who seek help or healing through indigenous and organic ways of our people. These are the work that Otsile is doing, and we're so grateful to have you here. We look forward to hear more about traditional medicine, and I think we're all looking forward maybe to begin with your journey with traditional medicine, how you ended up being here. Maybe you can take us through that journey, that history.
Okay. I don't know where to begin. Okay. You see, when I was young, I was born in a family where my grandfather was a traditional healer. So from a very young age, there's practices that my siblings and my cousins, we went through as we were growing up, that really I never heard from or heard about from other people. So as we grew, honestly, I was not a believer in traditional ways of doing things. So I just went through it because it is something that, my grandfather put us to. But as I grew, I think maybe at around 10 years old, when I'd go to the cattle post with my father, I'd hear the name of that tree or take a turn by that tree. So he'd name all these trees. And I developed interest in these names because most of them were either started with M-O or had an M to start the name of the tree. Moloto, Mopane, Motswere, Morula. So because my surname is Molefe, I got an interest in knowing all these different trees that he always would give a sign by. So I think it later on, I wanted to know more about all these different plants, because no matter how many trees I thought I knew, there was always new ones. You see, when I'm walking through the bush, I would always see new plants. I'd ask, a new name all the time, a new name. But what got me more interested was my grandfather working all these different plants, collecting them, and sun drying them and pounding them and sieving them into powder. And I was interested in knowing, but why? Why plants? Why doesn't he like pills? Why do so many people come to him? Why do we always have people who are coming in and staying here and leaving when they're healed? So developed interest. But it was at the later stage that I was really pulled in, because out of all his grandchildren, maybe 17 of us, he selected me and said that I want to teach you something. I'm saying that. And at some point, one person that came from South Africa, who had been staying with my grandfather for about a year or so, this guy told me that, you know, this old man keeps on saying this, but you are not listening to him. But can you just give me 5 minutes of your time? I want to show you something. So I didn't take him seriously, and I just passed it and then kept on going with my day. Then just one day I decided, okay, that 5 minutes, I think I have it now. What did you want to show me? It is now when he took out the bones and just took one bone and told me, I'm going to teach you this one bone and how it works. So he pulled out a compass with all the coordinates and said that northeast, southwest, all these points with this bone say something. So I'll teach you this one bone, and I want you to remember all these 8 points. If you can remember all these 8 points, I want you to listen to your grandfather one day when he's divining somebody. You will answer only with what this one bone is saying. So there's one time when my grandfather was with somebody, I just came and passed. And then I looked at that one bone, and then I said, that bone is saying this, this, and that. And he was like, where did you learn that? And the person that was in front of my grandfather was like, how does he know that? And I was like, oh, okay. So these things actually work like this. So that is how I developed interest. And then I wanted to know more about the bones. So he put all the bones, and I started learning more and more and more and more about the bones. But the bones were not enough. The bones were just maybe your laptop that could research about somebody else's life. And then now you needed to assist this person with whatever ailment they're bringing to you. So now you needed to know the plants. And most of the time, the plant that you will use is in the bones. If you read out the bones will tell you which plant to go and use. So then I started piecing it all together. And amazingly, just from reading the bones and getting that plant and giving it to somebody who's been going to hospital for a long time and not being able to get assistance, they would be healed. Mm. So I really wanted to know more and more and more. So now that is where I got a lot of interest in knowing the medicinal properties and the spiritual properties of plants.
Mm. Wow, this is so fascinating. I'm really involved and I have many questions. I don't even know where to begin. But what I'm finding fascinating is just, I think it's because I'm a Motswana. Is there any reason why the names begin with M that you discovered? That's the first question, and then I'll have other follow-up questions.
I have absolutely no idea why the names, most of the names begin with an M. But in Setswana, these names basically come from what the plants assist in.
Yeah.
Most of the names. Yeah. So they take the property of the plant and name it that.
That's interesting.
So
they would have
Mukoba, Muhudiri, it's a lot of M names, but I don't know how they pieced it and they named those plants that way.
Yeah, that's interesting. But that makes sense. And this is why you constantly discover so many plants, because the many different uses that a different plant will have as well. We'll go deeper into that as we break it down, and maybe we can begin breaking it down to what you discovered around the medicinal properties that plants have, and also the spiritual properties that plants have that you learned in your journey, as you were also taught by your grandmother.
Like I say, when you're learning the bones, you learn also the plants. Then you will learn the ailments that these plants will assist in. So there's the scientific researchers and researchers who've I think maybe came and took those plants and wanted to research more on the plants. But there's other ways in which I don't think they would be able to get these out of these plants from a lab. There's a lot of ways in which I don't think it can be proven in a lab that these plants work. And basically, when somebody comes to you with a problem and they're satisfied after you've assisted them with a plant, I don't know if you can take it to a lab to say that let's prove it, because they're satisfied. You know, they are assisted in something that they've had a problem with for a long time. I'll give you an example of say genital warts. Genital warts, most of the time people go to the clinic and they burn them. But when you burn a genital wart, it leaves a mark or a little bit of a scar. So when you keep on burning them, you will definitely disfigure the place where the affected area. But when you use plants to remove those warts, they don't leave marks. So I've seen a lot of people get satisfied with the fact that I've had a condition like this for a long time, and I've got so many scars, and now I don't want to keep on going to get more scars because it doesn't look nice down there. So after they get assistance from plants and it doesn't leave a mark and the warts are gone, you know, it's always interesting. And it's the same thing that even with cattle or with your cows, when they get those warts, there's a plant that you tie around the neck of the cow, and if it stays on for a few days, and then when it falls off, those warts start to fall off. So I don't know how to prove that in a lab, but it works. Yeah.
So this will be the all things spiritual. We cannot really prove them because they work or they function within non-ordinary rules on laws that we might not even understand ourselves. So of course, we will not know exactly what made this illness disappear or heal in the way that it healed, because this topic itself is talking about that plants also have this spiritual aspects to them. They have some properties that we cannot account for, that we cannot really understand. But it seems that throughout time, the people, the elders who've lived before us have always known this, that plants have the power to heal, and they can heal far beyond what we're able to understand about them, right? And before we go deeper into that, the question that came up is, I think that another thing that we need to understand is illnesses also, why illnesses exist, and why then the westernized or the way that we understand healing sometimes doesn't necessarily work with illnesses or diseases that we have as people.
Some illnesses that you cannot get assistance with at your clinic or at your hospital. I would say, if in Setswana, we know that if you have a partner and that partner passes on, you are said to be sick. You can be in America or you can be wherever. Even if you are not in contact with that person, the fact that that person was your partner, you're said to be sick. And you might not have symptoms of being sick, but spiritually we know that you need to be healed. So some people may say that, but I was not married to this person. But when I throw the bones will show me that you had a partner who passed on and you did not heal from that. That is why now you are having this problem. And most of the time, as soon as you heal that Oswahadi problem, things start getting into place. So there's a lot of ailments or conditions that you cannot go to the hospital and say hospital will diagnose.
No.
Sorry, my battery is a bit low.
Oh, okay.
Let's just hope it will survive 3 hours. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe you may get even a charger.
Yeah, it's in the charger now.
Oh, okay. Great. Okay. So yes, you may continue.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of conditions, like I say, there's a lot of conditions that as Africans we had a way of combating and healing that we cannot heal in the modern way.
Yeah, because
so as when things got more modernized, like the topic of this meeting, the summit, is a lot of ways that our grandfathers and their fathers did things was, I don't want to say decolonized, but I'll say decampaigns. You know, we were told to change. We were told to change to a better way. We were told to change to something that somebody else was bringing with them. We were told we were backwards when we kept practicing what we've been surviving with. So a lot of these practices, a lot of these customs, a lot of these traditions then died off. So now a lot of people are sick, really. A lot of people are not well. A lot of babies don't go through the process that we knew a baby had to go through, and the mother had to go. We don't practice all those things, and then we start getting conditions of babies that will need for your child to go to therapy and for a long time, and it is expensive. But we always know that if you don't do this, you will get that. So in order to prevent these conditions in your babies, you have to go through this one. It's just customs and tradition. So when our customs, we started following somebody else's customs, and we started changing to something that was modern, something that somebody else brought, something that somebody wanted us to believe in, then we lost a lot of ways in which we live longer. So now there's a lot of conditions that really are expensive to combat through the medical science, but the traditional way, it's just something that is simple.
Yes. We've been talking a lot with the different healers that have been coming here. Even on Sunday, we did talk about our indigenous birthing ceremonies, traditions, customs, rituals that used to happen, and how, as you're saying, now that we are no longer doing that, we have all these different problems. And I love that you talked about how some of our physical ailments, some of diseases are really spiritual issues that are happening. They are about the disconnections that we are experiencing with the relationships that we're in, that we're experiencing with our culture, with our tradition, and so they manifest as physical ailments in the body. And so, of course, it makes sense that if we go to the hospital, like the Western ways of healing, it will be very difficult to heal that because we are not addressing the problem itself. We're just addressing the symptom that's coming up. And so this is why it will always come back, because it's just a symptom. We need to go to the core. And this is what traditional medicine is doing. It's going to the core of the problem. Well, the bones and the traditional medicine, they look at what the diagnosis itself goes to the core, and then the treatment itself also goes to the core. And that's just important and profound. And yes, a little bit disheartening that we have lost that understanding. And also why we're doing the summit, essentially to bring back this understanding back. So you do a lot of teaching around how people can heal different ailments that you are finding that you've been treating. May we speak about some of the ailments that you have been working on and that you've been healing, and so in case other people here need or are interested to know more on how they can begin this work in themselves.
Sorry. Where's that connection? I'm trying to get it back. Okay.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can
Is
hear
there
you.
volume?
Yes.
Okay. What was the question again? Sorry. Okay.
Oh.
We were talking about ailments.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. The expanding a little bit more on some of the ailments that you help your patients with. I'm sure there are many, but just like bringing in a bit of 2-3 ailments that we might not know of that have spiritual sources and can be treated with traditional medicine.
Okay. If you go to visit my page and like my page, Molefe, and you follow my page, and then you can start reading about different plants. So one thing that I've learned about traditional medicine and traditional way of doing things is there's a lot of secrets that people like to keep to themselves and like to share with only, say, maybe somebody who will pay them for the knowledge. So I think it's part of the reason why there's a lot of mystery behind the practice. So a lot of people will see it as negative. They see devils and they see demons behind it. That's why a lot of people will say that I will not use traditional medicine. So I say to them, why do you want to call it that way? Why do you want to call it traditional Milimoya Setswana or like that? Why don't we just call them plants that we found on the ground, that grow on the ground, that provide us with the air we breathe? So why don't we just call them that, so that we break the mystery and say that for people who will say that they find something negative in using medicine that is in a plant. So with the different ailments and the way that I share information is, if you know this plant actually possesses medicinal properties that will heal or treat, or you can use as a remedy for stomach pains or diarrhea or piles or menstrual disorders or asthma, or I can go on, for open cuts, to boost your immunity, to boost your fertility, to cleanse your womb, to cleanse your body, to cleanse your spirits. You know, as we go through life, we gather a lot of negative vibes. There's a reason why in our culture, it was said that when you're pregnant, you shouldn't go out to the public. Because when you go out to the public, you have a baby on the way. You need to do everything possible that you can to make sure that the baby arrives healthy. So there'd be a lot of people who are negative. There's if you go when you're supposed to be, are we together? Hello?
Yes. We lost you for a moment there. Yes, but we can hear you now.
Yes. Okay. So when you are pregnant and you go out to the taxi rank, to a public place like that, there's a lot of people who go in and out of such a space. Some of these people committed murder. Some of these people had an abortion. Some of these people, did so many negative things. And when you step on their footprints, some of those negative vibes you carry with yourself to your house. That is why when you enter a sacred place, it is always said that take off your shoes. Negative that you don't even know. And I don't want you to bring those things to the house. That is why at a certain period of your pregnancy, it is said that you should stay home. Even after the baby is born, it is said that you should stay home for this period, certain more weeks, and get the immunity, and then you can go out to the public again. So those are just some of the customs that we have, or we had, that our elders always wanted to teach us and guide us to. But it's a lot of people have lost all of that. They don't believe in that. They don't believe in it because nobody has told them the reasons why.
Yeah.
It was always said that don't do this, but you will never give reasons why you shouldn't do that. So what I try to do is open people's eyes to say, this is what was said. This is the reason what was said.
I definitely.
So with yes.
No, I was saying I resonate with that, the statement of explaining to people why, because that has been a lot of the disconnect for a lot of us, because of our history of how most of this information was erased, or as you say, decampaigned. So it's very difficult for people to just easily believe it with our colonized mind. So there is a need to start explaining why we do what we do. Why was it the case that this is how we treated illnesses, or this is why we had this custom or this ritual, or this is why we believed in ancestors or plants. And a lot of people, once they start understanding that, they do actually open their minds, that and they're willing to work with plants, they're willing to work with spirit. Yeah.
Yes. And then there's other plants that you can have in your households, just plants that you can have inside the house that will communicate with you and show you if there's anybody sick in the house. They will wilt, they will shed the leaves, they will just not be happy. So if when you understand plants, you can see, even when your child is not home, that they are not well, just from this one plant. I've seen my grandfather do a lot of things that still amaze me, and some I've tried, and if I explain try to explain to people, they don't believe until they actually see it. There's what we were taught at school. There's a system in which the school works. There's a lot of things that we are not taught at school. So if we are guided by a system, that was not developed by us, that becomes a big problem, because we grow up with somebody else's beliefs and somebody else's way of doing things, and we forget about our own ways of doing things. So if you were to take, say, maybe the curricula of our schools in Botswana, from wherever it goes back to, we'll realize that it does not include our cultures and our customs and our way of doing things. We're tested on if you can remember what you were taught yesterday. So it is said that you excel in school because of what you remember. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the person that always remembers what they were taught yesterday will be a successful person. So as we grow, we tend to not look at what we're taught. We want to only look at the things that other people know. It becomes difficult when like myself, I'll take for example, a lot of people don't know that I'm a traditional healer. A lot of people don't believe when they hear that I'm a traditional healer. But for people that know me and where I come from, they know that it was in the pipeline, it was coming. You know, it's where he was born. It's something that is just natural to him. So it's different from somebody who is being taught and somebody who, it's like athletics. When you are a good runner, you are a good runner. It comes naturally.
Yes. Yes, I definitely can relate to that. That many people who wouldn't believe that I do this, but there are others who be like, oh, she was always going to do this as well. As we're talking about all of this, why there's been this loss of our education, our knowledge as African people. I think the one thing that we have lost is our imagination and our ability to access information beyond what someone else is teaching us or beyond what we can see. This is what has been taken also from the African mind, our ability to connect with the spirit realm and retrieve divine information that can help us with our healing, that can help us with the way that we live our lives and the way that with creating the life that we want for ourselves. So imagination has been taken from the African mind, and speaking on this imagination, what's coming up for me, and I have a little bit of understanding on it, but I would like you to share also on how I'm sure you've been innovating and developing more medicine even beyond your grandfather. How do you discover which plant? Yes, the bones tell you, but is there other ways that you are discovering new plants for healing new problems, issues, ailments that people are coming in, like your clients that are coming with? Is there a particular way that this happens for you, a particular system, and so forth?
I like to share a lot of time with old people. I like to spend a lot of time with older people because they will teach you a lot of things. So most of the plants that maybe my grandfather wasn't using, but that are medicinal, I usually go to the area where you gather it to find out from those elders what it's used for. I like to try things on myself. I think I've got a tolerance of negative things, and I will tell you that I've been burnt by a lot of medicines myself. I've gone sick. I've had my skin peel. I've tried a lot of things. The dosages, I will learn that you don't use that much, because I learned it the hard way. If I can't take it to a lab, I try it on myself. So even when I have a blister or a sore and I would like to try that medicine because I know it's good for open cuts, you know, I give it time, and then I will monitor how long it will take to close the wound, and then I will see if it leaves a scar. Then I would know that it's good or it's not so good. So when I get another wound, I can try it either on myself, or when somebody has a wound and we're at the kettle post, I know that I can try that one and see how quick it works, how much relief you get out of it. You know, if it is a headache or a toothache, you know, I know the plants, so I will try them on different people, and they work. I actually have shared on my page a remedy of healing a headache with a knife, but people don't believe it. But for people who've done it, they know it totally heals it. But when I explain to you how it works, you won't believe it. So this is what my grandfather did. There was a guy that had a headache, constantly had migraines. He told him, I will show you what to do. Then he told him, go to your house. When you get to your house, take the biggest knife in the kitchen and go and throw it in the middle of the house. It should be a folding knife, like an okapi. Go and throw it in the middle of the yard. But before you throw it, mark an X and throw it in the middle of the X. Mark a cross and throw it in the middle of the cross and leave it there. Whoever comes in your yard, ask them to pick up the knife and go and put it in the kitchen and fold it and put it in the kitchen. Your headache will be healed. This is one remedy that works. I don't know how it works, but it works.
I was going to ask how.
I don't know how it works, but it works. There's something spiritual there that happens that you can't explain scientifically, but your headache will be gone.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, it's fascinating, and it also makes a lot of sense. Just wanted to tell everyone to begin sending in the questions, comments. My whole mind right now is just like, oh my God, what do I touch? It's so fascinating. So you may begin sending in your questions so that we may address them here. Yes. I think if we do understand that a lot of what's happening in the body, there are often psycho, emotional, spiritual things that we are not addressing, and that when we do address them, or when we release the tension at that level, at a spiritual level, the body will also release the tension within itself. So I imagine it has something to do with that, the headache problem. That symbol or that ritual or that ceremony releases that tension at a spiritual level or at some level, and then the body also releases it as well. Because for me, I also know growing up, I used to have a lot of headaches, and then when I started being in the spiritual path and working with the spirit, I have not had headaches whenever I do have them, I know I'm under a lot of stress and I can pinpoint where it's coming from. It's not just a headache, it's because I am traveling, I haven't slept in many hours, and this is why the headache is coming. So this is the one thing that our elders knew, that our problems, our physical, the problems in the body that are related to what's happening at a spiritual, psychological, and emotional level as well. Yeah. So
yes, so there's a lot that I believe people are not taught, and there's a lot that we also block out when we're supposed to learn. And I tell people that I like to spend a lot of time with older people, because they talk, and when they talk, some things might not make sense, but later on when I do piece them together, I can see and relate better. So there's people who go to church and pray, but no matter how much you pray, things just don't come right. And I tell those people that there's a time to pray, if you do pray. Yes, and there's a time in which you should expect things to have changed. Even with medicinal plants and the spiritual side of plants, there's for things that you really can't heal, that are spiritual, there's a time in which you can go and do a ritual. There's a time you shouldn't perform a ritual. So some people perform rituals when it's not time, and they don't work. So they say that it doesn't work. There's a way in which you're supposed to do things. So you need to follow that. It might not be nice, but it's just the way that it has to be done. When a traditional healer tells you that you're on your period, somebody will ask, but I'm sick and I need assistance now, and I'm on my period now. So what do you expect me to do? I need assistance now. But you want to visit a traditional healer when you're on your period, and you want them to assist you when you're on your period. So there's a period in which you shouldn't do things. There's a time in which you shouldn't do things. And there's a time in which positive will follow after certain rituals. So to demystify a lot of practices and African practices needs a lot of teaching. And teaching, I don't think, comes well when you're older. When you teach something, it builds in. But when I teach you something now, you will always have an alternative and say that, okay, it won't work, so I'll do something else. But for a baby, they know that it's either this or I don't know anything else. So if we were to go into demystifying traditional and our African beliefs and ways of doing things, I think, even the government has to step in. There's a lot of nations who don't want to lose their customs. and they've included all of that in the curricula and ways of teaching and ways of raising children. But if I was to ask you, what is it that is African that we teach our children at school? It's not. But rather but I ask a lot that pray. What was?
Hello?
So
okay.
Yeah, yeah, I believe I was lucky because my grandfather was born in 1914. And he tells me that the first missionaries that came to Muchudi, he was a small boy then. And he saw impact that they brought with them. So it goes back a very long way. So until our governments acknowledge that we've got beliefs, it's going to be very difficult for us to demystify it. It's there, we live with it, we need to teach it more, we need to use it more. You know, if we are going to call a certain church to come and pray for rain, but we've got our African ways of bringing the rain. So have we forgotten about those, or we just don't like that part of bringing the rain?
When most of the time it's the same. It's our ways that we are afraid of because of the colonization that has happened to us, where we've been made to be afraid of what is African. If you ask the person what is so different about our traditional rainmakers calling in the rain as compared to the churches, they might start talking about what they are wearing and the songs that are being spoken and how they are scary at it, but it's the same thing. The church people are still wearing something, they're still singing, but it's just a very indoctrinated fear of everything African, the fear of our cultures, what we wear, our customs, and so on. And as you're saying, this is why the summit, I know it's not even, this is why it's 9 days and 9 speakers, because it's in so many different ways. It's complex, the way that we have been colonized, and the way that it's so very difficult to instantly make a lot of us understand the power of our ways, the powers of our traditions, and so on, because it's in the mind, it's in how we currently live, it's in how we currently relate, it's what we're accessing, it's also what you're saying, how it's difficult to also access why we do what we do. That knowledge has not been easily accessible for so many of us. So this is why we have to do the summits, and we have to have your pages, and all the teachers and speakers who've been coming here are doing great work in helping demystify our spirituality, our ways of healing, and so forth. But it's like you're saying, it's a daily activity. And I think as we're talking, it just broke my heart, because I'm thinking, the people who are like the ministers of education, are they not bothered by what is currently our education system, where we are not learning anything to do with our history, to do with our cultures in any of our curriculum? And if there's anything African, it's literally 1% of the content in the year. Did they not see the impact of this within themselves and within their children and so on? And it's really sad, because back in the days, the leaders always worked with the healers, and they consulted the healers on how do we build our community, how do we progress, how do we advance, how do we protect, how do we heal. But that's also been lost, and this is why we're doing this here, and it is an initiative by us, but to get the people who have the ability to change at the core, which is, let's begin with the education system itself. They are not accessing this, so sometimes it can be a little sad when you think about it, but we continue doing it. So thank you so much for the work that you are doing in sharing about plant and medicine and traditional ways of healing. What's coming up for me is right now it's so easy for us to come to plant medicine when we are sick, when things have already went really not in the greatest of ways. What are the ways that we can start beginning to work with plants before we even get sick? What do we need to change with how we treat our bodies, what we feed, and also spiritually as well, so that we don't have to always come, we don't eventually get sick and need the treatments that a lot of people are getting? One needs to change that.
Okay. You have to understand plants, and you have to understand supplements. You have to understand that you need to take certain supplements so that they can boost a certain part of your body in reality. I think the first thing that you should start with is you should know the plants that boost your immune system. And if you've got a history of ailments, you should know the plants that will assist with those. I give an example to gentlemen and say that if you are not sexually active, say maybe if you are 40 and you're not sexually active, you should consider getting a supplement that is anti-cancer, just so that you protect your prostate. You don't get prostate cancer. So you should know the plants. You should know the plants that are anti-cancer. You see, so it starts that way. And then if arthritis runs in your family at a younger age, you should know plants that you can take as a supplement that should be able to help you with that. And then there's sometimes you just need to detox, you know, from the food, the processed food that we consume, from the various medication that you take. You just need to flush your system. You should know which plants you should take for that. So there's a lot of plants, there's a lot of remedies, and you should know that I'm taking something for my eyes. I'm taking something for my brain to be alert. I'm taking something for my bones. I'm taking something for my skin. I'm taking something for my joints. You see? So when you know all of those, you know that you rotate them. But also not forgetting that what you want is to keep your immune system at its peak. I tell people that immunodeficiency syndrome basically is saying that your immune system has deficiencies. That is why it will be easier for you to get ill from sexually transmitted infections. But if you keep your immune system in check, then you remove that deficiency in your immune system. Not meaning that you now become careless and you don't protect yourself against certain things, but you need to make sure that your immune system is in check. You need to pay more attention.
Mm. Mm. And these plants, where can people access them? Are they plants that people can buy, or there are plants that you'd have to go and get organically in the forest? Yes, you have to farm them.
In South Africa, it's different. In South Africa, there's a lot of multi shops. You might not be able to see me, but you can hear me. Yeah. Battery is going to die, but we'll continue. In South Africa, it's different because there's a lot of multi shops. But people don't understand even the people who sell the moot, they don't have much knowledge into what they're selling. They just package whatever and sell it for profit. In Botswana, it's even worse. It's more difficult because even when I share a plant with its name and its scientific name, and I share its medicinal properties and what it will assist you with, you will ask me, where can I get it? I'm in my womb. I don't know where you can get it. The only place I know that plant is in the bush. I can't send you to a pharmacy or anything like that. So it's more difficult for people to get those medicinal properties of plants because you don't find them in shelves. But what you will find in shelves is medicinal products that are either from India or from China. Yeah, because either they mass produce them there or I don't know. But for us here, it's very difficult. And one thing that I've realized about what comes from China is everything, most of the medicine that comes from China is something that was planted and harvested. But the medicines that we have here is something that grows naturally. So which one do you think would be more potent?
The one that's natural.
So that's the difference. Exactly. So that's the difference with what we have growing on our ground and what we see on the shelves that is coming from outside of our regions. So I believe that we need to have pharmacies we need pharmacies to include shelves of medicines and remedies that are us.
Yes, I have discovered that myself as well, that it's very difficult to. In South Africa, it's easy, but in Botswana, not so much. Although I think there are some parts where we do know what we need to use for this specific problem, which plant to use for that. And at some level we're doing that, but we need to do more for sure. So one question that comes up a lot, and I think we spoke about this the other day, is that a lot of women, if I lost you, I'm not able to see.
Okay, am I back? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, not see you.
Yeah, my battery is gone, but
Okay.
yes, I think
But
we can continue even though my face is not there.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay, yes. So what I wanted to, this is a question that always comes a lot with women, and in my work as well, I find that a lot of women have a lot of womb problems. And these are usually like very long-term womb problems. And it's where, as you've spoken, they would have went to the hospital and they will get medication and they will get treatment and it works for some time and then it comes back and it comes back. From just your professional experience with plants and with working with the different women, why is it that there's a lot of womb problems, different types of womb problems? We can list a whole list of them. And what can women do to within their own capacity if they're not able to access you, for example? What can they do at home to heal the womb, essentially?
It's the same thing. I think when you should know the plants, you should know the medicinal plants that you can use either as a tea or that you can add to your porridge in the morning, or you can make a small bottle that you can either boil and then keep in the fridge, and know that this one you use, say maybe for so many days after your period, just so that you can cleanse and release all of that that needs to be released from you. And then yeah, I think it's just for people to know and understand what to use when.
I think that
yeah. So if you follow my page, you should be able to learn that this plant I can use it this way. This one I can use it that way. This one I should use before my period if I want to either be fertile or if I'm trying for a baby, and this one I can use after my period if I just want to cleanse. And yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I definitely encourage everyone to go check your page out because you have written a full list of plants that people can research in their own local spaces and begin healing themselves with plants, and of course connecting with you directly. For those people who are in Botswana and who would want to work more with you, how can they do that other than your Facebook page? Let me write it for everyone here.
Other than my Facebook page, I'm here in Gaborone. I stay in Rodest. My cell phone number is 7148 2148. You can either reach me via WhatsApp, or you can call to make an appointment, because I like to see people on a one-on-one basis. I like to be discreet, and I like for people to also feel that discreetness. So I don't want, I only meet people by appointment. So when I give you your time, it is only your time. I don't want to rush through because there's other people waiting. That is why you have to make an appointment to see me.
So important. Oh, this has been so amazing, so educational. There's a comment here from Kokwete Bukharing. She was here with us on day 3. She said this is, well, she's greeting us to Manamba Polo. What an amazing conversation. Mysteries of the plant and its energies. Sometimes it's beyond science and the lab, which is something that you believe in, right? Yes. So this has been so amazing. I see here we don't have any more questions. And so we will end here. Any other last things you would like to share with the audience? And then
I believe that, and I believe that Chinese believe also that, and everybody else really who's studied and has learned our past and where human beings come from, that plants play a very huge, vital role in our lives, both physically and spiritually. So I would really be happy to see a lot of people developing interest in wanting to know what plants can do for them. You know, it's not about me, it's not about you, it's about people developing interest in wanting to know for themselves what plants can do for them. So you don't have to follow my page and believe what I say. So I say that you should work on you also discovering what it can do for you. If there's a remedy, take that remedy, help somebody else with it. If you don't need it, it doesn't hurt you knowing it, because there might be somebody in your family that will need the assistance.
This is so important, so important. I think at this time, a lot of us, we are discovering that there is a need to have alternative ways of healing ourselves, or consider the alternative ways of healing ourselves. This is the whole point, I think, for me, for doing the summit. It was always for us to see what else is possible before we close off the options that are available for us. So thank you so much for highlighting that it's just a matter of your own personal exploration. Explore the plants and see what works and what doesn't work, and leave what you don't resonate with and take what you resonate with. That's all that matters. It's your own journey and your own resonance. So thank you so much for this. This has been so fascinating. I can imagine us going on and on. There's so much to this, but I advise everyone to go check your page. There is so much to learn from your page, and thank you for that work that you're doing, and connecting more with you if they need your assistance on healing themselves and working with plant medicine, traditional medicine. Okay.
Thank you very much. And if you please can visit my page, just like it, follow it, just go through the content. You will definitely pick up something that will work for you, or that will assist your sibling, mother, brother, father, or neighbor, or it talks a lot about a lot of things. And I keep on posting and sharing other remedies, because sometimes I get people who ask about that on my inbox. So when I see that there's a lot more people asking about this particular one, I will post about it. I really am open to sharing. If you are a traditional healer, you can contact me. I can share what I can share, what I know, and I might learn something from you as well. So really, it's all about dispensing information and giving it to people so that they can use it however they want to use it.
Yes, this is so necessary, so important. I have shared with everyone here on the chat the Facebook page and the phone number to connect with Otsile. And tomorrow we are doing the last day of the summit, and we're talking the spirit realm and developing more, advancing into working with the spirit realm. This particular session would actually happen at 12 noon instead of 6 p.m. only because our guest is in Australia, so they are, that 6 p.m. is that 3 a.m. So we're going to make this much easier for them to join us by having our session at 12 noon. So if you want to join us, please tomorrow come noon and we will have the last part of this amazing, powerful, potent summit that has been exploring everything African spirituality. And I hope you've been growing as I've been growing. I'm definitely a different person because of this. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you tomorrow at noon. And you may see the recording of this tomorrow as well. And all the other recordings have been sent to your emails if you've registered for that. If not, you can register again and I will resend those recordings for all the other talks that we had in the last 7 days. Okay, thank you so much for joining us. Have a good night. Love and blessings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.